This is the missing piece for the Rams. New article shows how a wide receiver prospect early in this draft fits the Rams offense very well as another wide receiver option in free agency that fills a major need as well that the Rams can go after. All that and more in this episode of Rams Digest, and welcome back to another episode of Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Finehirsh, and before we get into today's episode, make sure to hit that sub button right now. We're on the road to 6K, 6,000 subscribers, trying to hit that by the time the NFL draft starts on April 23rd, just over 2 weeks away here, and we're still about 385-ish away. So make sure to hit that sub button right now, click the notification bell, click all, so you get notified and never miss whenever we post our daily new Rams Digest video content pieces covering all things Rams offseason and draft, so you don't miss a beat. And make sure to leave a like on this video right now as well for the Rams to have a great rest of the offseason and nail the draft. But now we have to get into today's story from Rams Wire. And Brock Vieira thinks that Omar Cooper Jr. would be an amazing fit for the Rams in the first round of the draft, and we're going to get into this story right now. The LA Rams have the 13th overall pick, and earlier this offseason, they made inquiries for Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown. While it doesn't seem like Brown will be moved, especially not to the Rams, the franchise is still in need of a player with Brown's talent. I fully agree. I don't necessarily think it's an A.J. Brown archetype that they need. It's just somebody who adds more talent to this receiver room. Because your top two are great. Puka, Devontae, you like those two guys. The tight end room stepped up. We'll see what Terrence Ferguson does in year two, hoping for a nice breakout season. Obviously, Colby Parkinson, 8 touchdowns last year as well. We'll see how real that is, but they didn't really have a key third guy they can go to, and I certainly think that that's very important to have to be a Super Bowl contending team and for the Rams next season, who obviously are looking to win the Super Bowl after coming up very close this past season. And realistically, there's a lot to love about Omar Cooper Jr.'s national championship campaign with the Hoosiers. Amazing catches in clutch moments, big-time plays, moments of physical domination. Cooper has it all. However, there are 3 traits Brown possesses that Cooper also has, which would be amplified if he joined the Rams. Sudden movement to the line of scrimmage, an ability to make contested catches, and a knack for making plays after the catch. I do agree, obviously, Omar Cooper Jr., that catch against Penn State, where he was able to get that foot in for Indiana to come back and win that game after being down at Penn State. That was a key catch there, and he had many key plays. I remember he had a leaping catch, I forget who that was against as well, but he was a guy that Fernando Mendoza could really rely on at Indiana, and he kind of built up his reputation in Indiana throughout his 3 years there. So I like the pick a lot. I'm an Omar Cooper Jr. guy at 13. I don't know, because probably Carnell Tate's going to be gone. That's what we expect. Maybe Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson are gone by then. I don't like Mekhi Lemon as a fit for the Rams. Love the prospect. Don't love the fit for the Rams. I do really like Omar Cooper Jr. I know Daniel Jeremiah called him the Ramsiest receiver in the draft during his combine workout. I vividly remember that, so we'll see if that ends up happening. But I would like this pick. I don't know about at 13 if the Rams trade down a little bit. I would certainly love the pick. 13 could be a reach depending on how the draft board looks. And I don't think we need to draft him either because he's similar to A.J. Brown. He has some of those qualities, yes, but I don't think that's what makes him the great prospect, is that he plays his own way. He knows what he's good at, and he helps you win. He's a winning player. We saw that at the college level. Realistically, Cooper would be the wide receiver 3. However, he could grow into the wide receiver 2 if Davante Adams starts to feel some wear and tear. Adams' lessons regarding leverage and attacking press coverage would serve Cooper well, and Adams is clearly willing to give it as displayed last season. Yeah, that's another reason why any receiver that gets drafted to the Rams, Davante is going to be an amazing mentor for. We saw that with Puka. He was really mentoring the younger guys as well all throughout training camp, that he's spreading his knowledge. He's a great guy in the locker room, consummate pro, and I definitely think he'd give Omar Cooper Jr. nice tips, tidbits about life in the NFL, how to navigate everything as well off the field that comes with being a high draft pick and kind of thrust into a little bit of stardom. Omar Cooper not going to be the main guy just here, but still going to be a key part of this offense. And having Davante there, I think certainly would help him out quite a bit for his development. I would be a fan of that if I'm Omar Cooper and the Rams. You got nothing to worry about. Robert Woods as well now on that wide receiver coaching staff, I think will help him out a ton as well if he were to go to the Rams. On top of that, the Rams love intersecting routes, as the entire underneath would be there for the taking, as both Cooper and Puka Nacua are able to take the ball to the house at any point. This is crucial for third and medium, a position the Rams often find themselves in due to their propensity to pass on early downs. Again, we'll see if that changes. They started to lean on the run more as the season went on, and I certainly think that they could do that once again here as well. But I do agree, having those two guys underneath, Puka and Omar Cooper Jr., you go to Puka on those plays early in some non-critical game moments. You get Omar Cooper the ball there early too, like first quarter, 0-0 game, you give him the ball, get his confidence up. So by the time the playoffs come around for the Rams, you have two guys, as well as Devontae, obviously, who's a great third down player too, but you got two guys underneath you can go to on third and medium. Again, we'll see if the offense changes a little bit, leaning a little more into the run. The run got a lot better as the season went on last year, so I do think that might change. But even still on third and medium, having those two guys underneath, it's a pretty good combo if I do say so myself. Making contested catches allows Matthew Stafford to fire bullets into tight windows. It's as simple as that, so don't be surprised if the Rams select Cooper because his hype is legit. He has all-pro potential. I don't know about all-pro potential. I do really like him, but I don't know if he'll ever be an all-pro as a Ram, just because as long as Puka Nacua is doing good in all aspects there, he's going to be great on the field and going to be the wide receiver one. For him to make an all-pro team, he'd have to be at Puka's level that he's been at on the field right now, and that's very tough to do for one season for any wide receiver. Again, I like Omar Cooper, but I think all-pro is a little much there, and it's not to say he can't or he never can. It's just looking at the situation on the Rams. Again, as long as Puka, stays clean and all that, stays out of trouble, I definitely think Cooper would be a wide receiver too for almost as long as he is a Ram. So all-pro a little much, but do I love him as a fit? Yes. Even for the post-Matthew Stafford era? Yes. And now, we do need to look at Omar Cooper Jr., the player, as a whole here, and kind of give you some deeper insight. And now if we look at his stats at Indiana, we can kind of go year by year here for Omar Cooper Jr. Obviously, 2023, his freshman year, didn't do too much. 2024 as well, only 28 catches, 594 yards, 21.2 average yards per catch, and 7 touchdowns. And then 2025, the huge year last year, obviously, 69 catches, nice, 937 yards, 13.6 average yards per catch, and 13 touchdowns. We love to see that. An amazing season here for Omar Cooper Jr. On the rushing side of things, he did carry the ball a little bit. 3 carries, 74 yards, 24.7 yards per carry, and 1 touchdown. We love to see that as well. A little bit of versatility. Did return some kickoffs his freshman year, but I don't really foresee him doing that too much at the NFL level. And going into his scouting profile here, according to NFL.com, 6 foot 199. Again, not the best size, but having Puka and Devontae, we don't really need someone with a lot of size. 30 1/4 inch arms, 9 5/8 inch hands, 6.39 prospect grade out of 8. Will eventually be a plus starter. That's what NFL.com thinks. 4.42 240. So again, helps the Rams out with that speed side of things too, with Puka and Devontae not really having a ton of speed on the outside. 37 inch vert. He is a projected first round pick. His NFL comp is Deebo Samuel, which I can see a little bit in terms of the underneath receiving yards after catch, but I don't think he's the same type of physical runner that Deebo was kind of in his prime. But I do definitely see those comparisons a little bit here. But now, you know what time it is when we're talking about a player. The NFL.com strengths and weaknesses sections here. Going to start off on the positive side with the strengths. He posted 20 touchdown catches since the start of the 2024 season, so a good red zone threat. Welcomes physical play and wins through contact, like that as well. Versatile enough to be more than a slot option, yes he is. Creates lateral separation when beating press. Digs hard through drive phase before snapping head around. First and second acceleration catches defenders off guard. Explosive leaper who can pluck high throws at their apex. Rugged runner who can break free from multiple tacklers. I do like the yards after catch. The leaping ability, I think, is all there. He is more than a slot receiver. as well. The red zone threat that he was in college, I think that can translate into the NFL here as well. There's definitely a lot to like about Omar Cooper Jr. as a player. And I think he complements Puka and Devontae's games very well heading into this upcoming season. And now to the weaknesses section. Inefficient getting in and out of intermediate breaks. Average contested catch success for his physical profile. Needs quicker recognition and adjustment on underthrows. Acceleration out of the stem is average. Disappointing effort and physicality when asked to run block. Now I'm going to challenge here. We're going to do the little baseball term here, little ABS challenge on this last weakness here. I don't really agree with it. I'm not saying he's the greatest run blocker in the world. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think the effort's disappointing. I don't really agree with that weakness. Now, I don't think Omar Cooper's ever going to be an elite blocker just because of his frame. But again, the disappointing effort I think is a little bit too far in physicality. The physicality is going to be a little bit lacking just because of his 6 foot, 199 pound frame. If you're asking him to block someone a lot taller than him and a lot bigger than him, it's not really much you can do there. You can be trying your best. But the underthrow weakness, I definitely do agree. And his acceleration out of the stem sometimes wasn't great. I will agree with that. But at the same time, that was how Indiana was running their offense. And I certainly think all these can be improved upon once he gets more familiar in the league. But now we have an intriguing wide receiver 3 free agency option for the Rams. Did a video on this a little bit ago. The steam has not really been there as much on this rumor, so nothing really linked just yet. But the player is Tyreek Hill. Now, I know what you're thinking. He's coming off of the devastating knee injury, wishing him nothing but the best there in his recovery. But again, as a wide receiver 3, even if he's not at a 4.28, 4.29 speed, if he's at, 4.39, 4.4, still helps your speed issue. And Tyreek Hill, contrary to popular belief, was still awesome in 2025. Well, 2024, he was still awesome. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But obviously 2025 only played in 4 games, 21 receptions, 265 yards and a touchdown, 29 first downs, 12.62 yards per catch, 17 first downs, 0 fumbles. Obviously, Tyreek at 5'10", 191, has played 10 years in the league and is at 32. So Tyreek is getting a little bit older here, obviously. Coming off that knee injury, we don't really know what to expect here for sure, but I certainly do think that he can still be a contributing player on a winning team. And if you're the Rams, I certainly think it's worth it to explore taking a shot on him depending on the price. But as I said, we got to get into these 2024 stats here as well. So for that, going to get that up here as well. So Tyreek Hill in 2024 played in 17 games, 81 catches, 959 yards, and 6 touchdowns. In 2023 and 2022, he was amazing in Miami with over 1,700 yards in both seasons. Also, 119 receptions in both seasons, funny enough there. So, yeah, Tyreek Hill, just as recently as 2023, was one of the top 3 best receivers in football. 2024, he was still good. And then, obviously, 2025, it wasn't great. And then, obviously, he got hurt there during that 4th game of the season, unfortunately. As well, the last 2 years were not the best 2 years either, so I don't fully blame Tyreek for having bad seasons there. Part of it was that he was kind of stuck with Tua there as his QB. And if you look at his market value on SpotRack, previously he was making a ton of money, around $30 million a year, but his market value is a projected $15.1 million, which would rank him as a 28th paid highest wide receiver according to SpotRack. I don't really see him getting $15 million from any team. I get for him you want to start asking high, but if it gets to be around that $10 million range for 1 year, you might as well do it. I'd rather take a chance on giving Tyreek Hill a $10 million a year than Tutu Atwell, just because of what I've seen from him. If Tyreek is 65-70% of the player he was in 2022 through 2024, I'll take it. We don't need Tyreek Hill to be a 1,700-yard receiver. Play the last 7 games of the year. Take your time recovering from your injury. You don't need to come back week 1 for this team, and by the time the playoffs come around, you're a bit more worked into the offense. I certainly think it can happen. Even if they draft a receiver early, you can ease that receiver in, because we know Sean McVay doesn't often play rookies. He did play Jared Verse, obviously, when he was picked in the 1st round, and he won Defensive Rookie of the Year. So in the earlier rounds, I do think these rookies will play more. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what Les Snead wants to do at this wide receiver 3 position. Whether he wants it to be a young guy like an Omar Cooper Jr. or a more experienced guy in Tyreek Hill. If they go the more experienced guy route, the free agency route, I do think if they're going to draft a kick return / punt return guy later on in the draft, I still think they should, regardless, because I don't think anyone on this current roster is an adequate enough punt returner. We saw what Shaheed did for the Seahawks and how he was able to flip the field. We don't need a Rashid Shaheed level returner, but we certainly need a decent upgrade to what we had last year as well. And it's also going to come down to what Nate Scheelhaase wants to do with this offense. How much speed does he want on the outside? Because the Rams need some more. They do. But how much do they want it? How much are they going to use it? Because Sean McVay openly said part of the reason why Tutu was inactive for those playoff games is because he just couldn't figure out a way to use him. And that's a little bit on Sean McVay. And I think if you sign a guy like Tyreek, or again, even if you draft a guy like Omar Cooper Jr., it's not like he's 4.2 speed, but you got to figure out a way to get 4.42 speed out onto the field when your other players don't necessarily have that speed at your wide receiver position, and for Nate Scheelhaase to draw up some plays for them, because he was the pass game coordinator and couldn't really figure out a way to get Tutu involved in the offense either. Tyreek Hill, better than Tutu ever was, I still think, even post-injury. Funny enough, Tutu now a Dolphin, but I think it's on both of him and Sean McVay's shoulders to really kind of get this offense rolling. For Sean McVay, I think Tyreek Hill can contribute to winning. You saw him do it in Kansas City, and I think Omar Cooper Jr. can as well, and I think both fit in with the locker room here, and Sean McVay, I think, would be fine with going either route. But now, obviously, I want to hear from you in the comments section. If the Rams go wide receiver early in the draft, should they take Omar Cooper Jr.? Comment Y for yes, N for no. To me, if it's at 13, I'd go no. I think it's a reach. But again, let's say they trade down to maybe 21 with the Steelers, because the Steelers like Ty Simpson and they want to overtake the Jets, who might take him at 16 for a quarterback or something, and Omar Cooper Jr. is there at 21, then I certainly think you would go for it. At 13, depending on how the board looks, I don't know. If 3 receivers are already off the board, your Tyson, Lemon, and Tate, whatever order you want them in, then I think you'd do it. But if not, I think it would be a bit of a reach at 13. I like Omar Cooper Jr., and I would do it because I think he does fit the team the best out of the players in the draft. And also in the comments down below, leave your thoughts. Do you believe that there are any free agent wide receivers worth signing on a short-term deal for the Rams? Y for yes, N for no. To me, I think Tyreek's worth it for a year to see what he can do. Stephon Diggs on Spot Rack, his estimated contract value was still around $20 million. I don't think that's really worth it. He won't go from a wide receiver 1 in New England to a wide receiver 3. A guy like Braxton Berrios to be a kick returner would be good, but not as a receiver, really. Again, Deebo Samuel is out there too. He wants around $10 million according to Spot Rack, so I don't really think that's worth it. To me, the answer is most likely no, but Tyreek is intriguing for the price point that he's listed at on Spot Rack at $15.5 million. I think you can get him to $10 million, and I think he would still sign with the Rams if that's what he wanted to do. Again, nothing confirmed there in terms of if the sides are talking yet. And as always, make sure to subscribe right now. We're on the road to 6K, 6,000 subscribers. So if you're enjoying the content over here and don't want to miss any of it, make sure to hit that sub button, click that notification bell, and click all so you get notified and never miss whenever we post our daily new Rams Digest video content pieces covering all things Rams offseason and draft, trying to hit 6K by the NFL Draft first round on April 23rd. And that is all for this episode of Rams Digest. Make sure to like the video right now if you want the Rams to have a good offseason and absolutely nail the draft. Make sure as well to leave your thoughts down below in the comments on who the Rams should draft if they take a wide receiver, and if there's any free agents that you think can fit this Rams roster at the wide receiver position. I've been your host, Joshua Finehirsh, as always. Thank you very much for watching another episode of Rams Digest. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you soon for another one, and have a great rest of your day.